Hi, my name is Ken Todd. I'm Lisa Vanderpump's husband, the person that carries Jiggy, and I give a good shout out to Weho Sports. Thank you.
I'm DJ.
This is Jimmy Rollins, and you're watching Weho Sports Show.
Hey, this is Kiki Hernandez, and you're watching Weho Sports Show.
I'm Justin Turner, and you're watching the Weho Sports Show.
What's up, everybody? This is Weho Sports.
Thank you, and we'll see you there on, you heard it here. We're going to wait for that and for more interviews, and you're going to see it at Weho Sports.
Where's the leg out there? Thank you. And thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you very much. Enjoy it.
Thanks for having me.
You're at Dodger Stadium watching Weho Sports.
Well, welcome.
Good afternoon and welcome to Weho Sports. My name is Raul Alonso, and we're live out of West Hollywood.
Yes, we
welcome, La La Land, West Hollywood, and around the globe to another edition of Weho Sports. We have a very exciting one for you today. We have a special guest that has much my respects and a lot of respects from around the globe. Mr. Kirk Walker, we're going to be talking with him in just a minute. He just came back from a win at NAFA, and he's going to tell us a little bit all about. He's going to talk about UCLA, because that's where he's coaching now, and what was in his mind when he decided to come out about 12 years ago. So, but I need some help to do all of this, and of course, you see my partner in crime to the left, Mr.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Cox. How are you, sir?
Excellent, Raul. I'm excited about tonight's show. This is going to be a good one.
Are you? Because I think I'm more excited than you.
I don't know about that. And yes, this is my guest, so you're welcome.
Yes, it is. I got to give first word process. But, since, let me just give you a rundown. Because in this year, there's been an increase of LGBT coaches coming out. Is a 62.5 increase. On 2015, there were 13. 2016, only 16. 2017, 24. And this year is 39. So to help us with all of that and to tell us all of his endeavors, hi, Mr. Kirk Walker. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he's a legend, and coming out. You came out 12 years ago?
12 years ago, yeah. It was the fall of 2005.
Mm-hmm. But tell us a little bit about that before we get into the organizations that you're now running to help connect, LGBT in sports.
Yeah, I my partner and I were getting ready to go through the adoption process, and it was an open adoption. And at that point in time, 2005, I had come out to some of my family and close friends, but I wasn't really out professionally, and certainly wasn't out to my team. So the big impetus for me was I didn't want my team to find out from anyone else. So I wanted to make sure that they heard it from me, and so I knew I had to do something and tell them before we went into the open adoption process. And so it was the first fall meeting of the year. getting ready after one of our most successful years, and I just had a great team meeting, and I just thought now's as good a time as any, and I just kind of dropped the bomb and told him. So it was kind of the first thing that kind of happened to kind of publicly create that opportunity.
What was it like? I mean, how many people were in the room? And, you know, did you say it and then there was like a little silence? Like, what was it?
Yeah, so it was rather interesting. It was just my team room, so there was about 20 of us totally in the locker room, and we were talking. We'd done our season meeting and our kind of opening season meeting, and it was just felt like it was a great opportunity to kind of let them know. So I just said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said something to the effect of, I just wanted to share something that's really important to you all, and I didn't want you to hear from anyone else. But I am, my partner and myself are going through an adoption process, and we'll be, in a public situation, and I didn't want you guys to find out from anyone else. And I'm sure I rambled on for several more minutes trying to find
Did you ever say the gay word?
The G
word?
I'm sure I did. Like I said, I rambled for a few minutes there to try and figure out where do I stop and when do I just stop, and when I stop, what's going to happen. So I rambled for a few minutes, but I stopped talking, and there was the normal silence, and no one looked shocked or falling over, but I said, does anyone have any questions or anything? And a couple of hands popped up very quickly, and I thought, okay, this is going to get interesting. And all of the questions were about the baby. When's the baby coming? Is it a boy or girl?
Oh, so they just like, whatever.
They didn't really want to talk about it or have anything to ask about in terms of me being gay, but they were very excited about the adoption. So it was great. The coolest thing for me in that whole year was it kind of led to our most successful year ever. And I know that the bond that they felt and the connection that we had when we kind of started that year off really kind of led to us really bonding as a team. And they really trusted and valued that I shared something really deeply personal. And so that team will be forever etched in my mind. And those individuals are very important to me because they were supportive, as well as their parents, as we moved forward. But,
it must have been a big deal for them because they must have known. Like, I mean, especially if you're doing the rambling thing, you're probably a little nervous. I'm sure you were fine, but you know what I mean. Like, it means something when somebody tells you something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could certainly sense how important it was to me. But I had always thought the same thing. If they really wanted to know, it would have been very, very easy for them to figure out. I mean, my partner at the time came to a lot of the games. They knew who he was. I certainly wasn't hiding it. I just wasn't really sharing it. And it's really pretty amazing because I think that's the power of being in a minority that's invisible, is that we are far more invisible than we think. And people will always assume that we're straight and it's just a friend, or that those kind of go down those assumptions. It's not a bad thing. It's just kind of normal. So I think a few of them were pleasantly surprised. I found out later when another TV camera show company came out to film a segment that they asked me, said, well, have you talked to the other gay players on your team? And I'm like, I have gay players on my team. And they're like, yes. And they told me, and I didn't know. So I was like, wow, I didn't really know. So they kind of, it was kind of interesting because it's not really a daily dialogue. But the dialogue that we did talk about before I came out and certainly after was just respecting and valuing the differences that we all brought. And that it's our differences and our diversity that actually gives us our strength as a unit, because we're not all the same. And we bring strengths and different characteristics that are different. And so that's going to bond us in a way that's going to make us united in our quest to be in the College World Series. But yet we know we're all coming at it bringing different tools and skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about that, tell us a little bit about Rick Wells, because Rick Wells came out because of you.
Well, so it was obviously a few years later, and I had been, pretty actively working with Nike at the time on a lot of things, and I got an opportunity to reach out to Rick Wells after he came out and wrote a story, and it was obviously very powerful and something I was deeply affected by, and very positively. So I reached out to him and sent an email, and got an email right back, which surprised me. And in that email, he revealed to me that that he knew exactly who I was and was so excited to hear from me, and that I didn't necessarily know that I had such an effect on his process. He had been carrying around my article when I came out in his briefcase for several weeks prior to him coming out, to get the strength to realize that he could do his story and he could actually do that article.
What did that feel like?
I know,
I
that's
mean,
right. I was reading it, I'm like, I get chills just
it was a powerful moment for me, because obviously I knew the impact of him coming out would have on sports, and to know that my story or my situation could have in any way helped escalate that was really humbling and really overwhelming. But so he was coming up to visit with Nike, obviously, and so I met with him, and we went to dinner and met his partner and had a great time, and obviously became very close and are still very close to this day. So I'm very proud of the work that he's doing. That was obviously when he was with Phoenix. And then not long after that, retired, and then got pulled back in by Peter Guber to run the Warriors, and the rest is history. We've seen what he's done since he's taken over.
Absolutely.
And I'm so proud of what he's done there, but obviously also knowing that he's done that as an out, proud man who has a partner and a family, and doesn't really care if anyone knows or doesn't know. It is what it is.
But he also helped you, because as I read in some of the articles, because I was just doing my own research, so as I read on some of the articles, you mentioned that he helped you now to become the activist that you are, and some kind of
he level. Certainly I think meeting with him and his telling that story about my effect on him really kind of just kind of shocked me in a way that kind of realized, okay, I've got a platform and I've got an opportunity, and it's not that I'm that important as myself, but collectively there's a lot of great individuals in sport that really can make a big difference. And so it really was one of those things that really kind of escalated my thinking about where do I fit in this grand scheme of things, and I'm just a softball coach, and nobody really cares, but yet there is an opportunity. And so I don't ever want to miss out on that opportunity, because you never know when that conversation or that opportunity to say something is going to affect somebody. And that's what I kind of live by now, is that when you have the opportunity to stand up and be proud and be able to kind of speak, do so, because it might not be really that important in that moment, but there could be somebody that overhears it, or somebody that hears it later on.
It's carrying the article about you in the briefcase around,
Right. I mean, it's just overwhelming to think that. He's such an amazing man in sports in general. I mean, his journey in sports is tremendous, aside from the fact that he happens to be, one of the first gay CEOs of a major sports franchise. But so there's a lot of full circle things I learned through Lon Rosenett with the Dodgers as well. In talking with him, how close he and Rick were years and years prior, and it really was amazing to realize it's a small world. The sports world is a small world, and the Dodgers are very connected to Rick and very connected to the Lakers, and there's just a lot of great ties there to LA.
But this show actually was started for the same reasons that what you do. I started this show because I felt that there was a need of a voice for young LGBT athletes. They wanted to come out, and my idea was to go out and interview people and ask them about their experience, and so to help touch others. So that's our promises of the show. That's how we started this show.
I'm honored to be here and be a part of that.
No, thank you.
Absolutely.
First of all, I got you a little gift.
Okay.
Because I know you just won a championship as a coach and as a player.
Thank you.
So
All right.
hopefully you can enjoy it later on tonight.
That sounds fantastic. I'm very excited for that. That's fantastic. Yeah, I was very, very fortunate to be part of a team this summer that won the national championship, and I've won many. I've been fortunate to win many as a coach, and certainly that's the onus goes on the players. But I won my first one as a player myself 3 years ago. It was men's masters, so it was the old guys, but it still was important to me. And then this last weekend, I was a part of an A team, a men's open A team that won the national championship out there in Fargo, North Dakota, and We were 7-0, and it was a great run, and I was kind of coaching and playing, and so really proud of that experience and that group of athletes. So it was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you also won a gold medal with the women's national team.
Well, I've been a part of the national team, the U.S. national team, quadrennium, several years. Yeah, so that 2000-2004 quadrennium, I was on the national coaching staff, and it was a great honor to represent the country and every opportunity and wear red, white, and blue. And so I took a break from that actually when we were doing the adoption. So 2004, I kind of walked away from it. But I regained it and joined back to the national staff this last year and was a part of the junior women's team that won the gold medal last summer at the World Championships. So that was another proud moment for me to be a part of USA Softball and represent the country and help those athletes achieve that amazing accomplishment. It's really, really something that's just astounding.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that feels like, because I'm coaching in personal development right now, and like my little team is doing so well, and it's like I keep trying not to say proud because it sounds like I'm like, their dad or something.
Right.
But like you feel that sense of pride.
Right.
But when you do
and excitement for them when they come together as a team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like to say I like to say if I can, I'm proud for them, not proud of them.
Okay, I'm gonna take that one.
But
I need a shift.
It is an awkward thing. I'm proud of them, like I've done something.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm proud for them.
Yeah, we're just facilitating, their excellence.
Yeah, fantastic.
So tell us, since you came out, you started an organization, and you are behind two very nice organizations right now. If you could tell our viewers what they are, and if there's anybody out there that feel like they need to reach out, they can reach out. And because I love the whole idea of your organization, having people being themselves, not pushing anybody to be out.
Yeah.
But I'll let you explain the whole thing.
Yeah, so it started in 2011, actually. So it was several years after I came out. And it was just started as a Facebook group. Roger Brigham, longtime wrestling icon, gay activist in San Francisco, was talking to me. He said, I have this idea. I'd like to kind of get this group together of LGBT coaches, allow them to talk about any issues or ways that they can help facilitate and build a community and kind of be a part of something. And there were 6 of us. I was the only college coach, and it was an interesting run. So we slowly kind of grew out of just a little bit of I know somebody and adding somebody in, but it was all about coaches. And a few years later, we had gotten to probably about 40 or 50 coaches across the country, some that were out, many that weren't, and a few other college coaches that weren't out that I added in. But it was really interesting when I opened up the group to sports professionals. So we included administrators or sports information people or athletic trainers or officials or umpires. And we started opening it up to just sports professionals.
Including high school, right?
Including high school as well. So it was high school, club, professional level, as well as collegiate level. So we really kind of key in on those 4 levels. And it's been amazing. We've exploded now. We're about to pass over 700 members. So within the last few years, it's just exploded. And the coolest thing to see is what happens inside of those communities, is the networking that goes on, for job sharing, for information about jobs that are coming open. There's certainly great conversations that happen about obstacles or challenges that they may have in their athletic department or with their teams, in terms of talking about diversity or whatever it may be. But the greatest thing about it is just the sense of community that comes out of it. They realize they're not alone. There are coaches and athletes and sports professionals from all over the country, virtually every sport, football, basketball included. So that group is powerful. We've kept that group private because out of the 700 members, there's probably 50 or so, maybe less, that are not out professionally. So to protect them and create a safe space, we keep the group private. So it's a Facebook group currently. We're hoping to expand that off to a website that would allow us to kind of have greater reach and reach out to people that aren't necessarily on Facebook.
That must be especially important to the people that are not out and that maybe are in like a smaller town somewhere in America where they don't have like a local support of gay people to be around. I mean, you must have people like that, right?
Absolutely. I think that's probably one of our greatest assets, I think, is where we are not necessarily the people that live in LA or New York or Boston, but those coaches that are living, somewhere in Kansas or Missouri, and they know that they're not alone. We've seen a lot of our members come out to their departments or come out professionally since they've joined. And a great story that I love to tell is Chris Bryant, who was a basketball coach, men's basketball coach, Division I, and was coaching back east. Chris was not out, but he was in the group. And it was about a year after he had been in the group and networked and met people, and he finally got the courage to he came out to his head coach and then to his team. So he became the first men's Division I basketball coach because he'd been in our group for about a year. So just knowing that it's a small step, but just knowing that it's an influence is really, really
It's
powerful.
not that small, though. I mean, honestly, it's actually really huge, I think, because any kind of step forward like that in a place where it can be so scary for people.
Yeah.
And when, him going out and normalizing it in that area, then like somebody else, and then it can go a little bit higher. So
it's that ripple effect.
So to me, it doesn't
right?
feel like a small step because it has to be the first step.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be the one, And without, so it's very important.
It's a great point. It's absolutely a great point. And I think the other organization that kind of came about is called Go Space, and it was actually started by a swimmer at the University of Arizona. And Lauren, an amazing young woman, was an athlete currently at swimming, and she had this great passion for wanting to do something, and she knew about the organization that I was running. And I met her through the LGBT Sports Summit with Nike. And she said, I've got an idea. I want to do the same thing that you're doing with sports professionals and do that for athletes, college athletes. And I said, fantastic. So she created this group called Go Space and started primarily with some of her teammates there at University of Arizona and then a few other swimming people from across the country that she knew. And very quickly, I was able to start throwing in athletes right and left. And that group started several years after, and it's getting close to the same numbers that we have in ECA, in the Quality Coaches Alliance. So it's close to 600 in that group, and it's current and former student athletes. So anybody that was a student athlete in a high school or at the collegiate level. So it's not just any athlete in general or somebody that likes athletics. It's actually somebody that was a student athlete at an academic institution and was a part of a team and the journey as a student athlete. And that's been a really rewarding group to be kind of heading up and working with as well. And so just added two people right before I walked in the door.
I think that I don't know if my life would have been different if I would have had some role models like that growing up, because I
might not have got married.
I'm for sure I would have not gotten married. Now I've been with my partner for 23 years, which is fantastic. But I probably would have not gotten married if that was the case. If I would have knew, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to put this together. But
that's fantastic.
But your diversity and inclusion vision, and this has been so dramatic.
Yeah.
Because at one time you told coaches to be themselves and to be true to their players.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I take great pride in, I think when I came out and in my early interviews, I didn't really like all my answers because they kept calling me the gay coach and I didn't want to be the gay coach.
I read that.
And so I kind of hate those articles. But what came out of those articles was I realized, it doesn't really matter what they call me. My coaching record was going to stand for what it was. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I get it when coaches, they don't want to come out because they just don't want this label that's put on. They want to be able to known for what they do on the field or on the court or wherever, in the gym, wherever it might be. So the one thing that I really encourage coaches to understand is that we are training and teaching young people to be really successful when they move forward in life. I mean, they'll be an athlete for a short period of time, but our opportunity, it's our learning opportunity, and the athletic world is our classroom, right? And one of the things that we really stress, or we should be stressing to our student athletes, is about integrity, and is take responsibility for what you've done, say what you're going to do, and then follow through. If you make a mistake or you fall short, then you own that and move forward. It's like it's a very simple process, right? But it's one that a lot of times young athletes, 18, 19-year-olds, sometimes struggle with. For whatever their background is, they may not have had that instilled in them when growing up. So one of the things that I really talk about is for coaches that remain closeted, when everybody kind of knows, it's no secret. It's like, you know, they know, everybody that's ever recruited to that coach knows that they're gay, but they just don't ever say anything. To me, that's a missed opportunity, because what does that show to that student athlete, especially on the women's side? It shows to women coaches that if their coach is gay and they're a good coach, but they don't talk about it, is there something wrong with it that they don't talk about it? And why don't they talk about it? And if I don't want to be that closeted when I grow up and go into profession, maybe I shouldn't go into coaching because I don't want to do that. So it really sends this negative
integrity.
loops. Yeah, it's about integrity. And so one of the great things when I was first recruiting was about integrity, was that I had some of the biggest responses I had from coaches in the athletic department at Oregon State, or across the country for that matter, were from football and basketball coaches that I was around, that I knew, that just said, kudos to you, fantastic, way to step up and be a leader and have the integrity and lead your team and show by example. And you know, I think I wasn't the reason that I did it, but it certainly was a great benefit that I really started to own and realize that it is important. It is important for us to have the integrity to speak
100%.
up. And someone may not agree, and someone may disagree, and it is what it is. But that's who I am, and not to be ashamed of it.
Can I ask really quickly?
Yeah.
You did say that it's especially important in women's sports. Why especially important for women, do you think?
Well, you know, it's interesting because in the sports community, there's homophobia or perceived homophobia on both sides, but many of it is kind of self-created. On the women's side, if you've been involved in women's athletics for the last 50 years, you are assumed to be a lesbian. So like, you know, I've coached for 36 years, and you know, they said, oh, you must have a lot of lesbians on your team. And I'm like, wow, I don't. I have about the same percentage that you would have in general population, you know? So I started to really realize that in women's sports, there's such a stigmatism of, if you're in sports and you're not lesbian and you're not gay, you kind of had to constantly self-acclaim that you weren't. And that's kind of unfair. So women that might be gay wouldn't want to self-perpetuate the story that all lesbians are in sport, and that if you're in sports you're a lesbian, and that they're so correlated. So it really created a negative opportunity that coaches were staying closeted because they didn't want to perpetuate the stereotype, but at the same time the lack of integrity then created this situation where it was a little homophobic environment that was created because they were trying to not perpetuate a stereotype. On the male side, it's just the reverse.
That's what I was going
You were
to say.
assumed straight if you were an athlete, even if you weren't.
Right.
So that's why I've always said for years that I think there was probably a lot more gay men in Division III or NAI schools because they were able to kind of make themselves straight by being an athlete.
Right.
And they may not have had the most amount of talent, but they could work hard
Yeah.
and play at a D3 or NAI level. So it's weird how both men's sports and women's sports kind of come at it from two different extremes. So for me on the women's side, it's absolutely paramount. The women's sports have a lot of problems with maintaining women in coaching roles, and there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I think one of those factors is that the lack of the integrity on the women's side to own who they are and to share that has kind of taken some student athletes that might want to go into coaching but don't want to live a closeted life to kind of steer away. And I think if it's not a reason, I get it, but if it is a reason, boy, that's something that we can take care of.
Interesting.
Very
Thank you.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I was just going to touch on your record because it's almost time for us to go. It is just crazy how fast. 496 wins, 108 106 and 1. 8.823.
Yeah.
Nobody can even say anything about you as far as that. So how could they even dare to say something about you coming out?
Well, I mean, I will say that I was fortunate in my situation at Oregon State. I had been there for 9 years. I had been very successful. I had been through several athletic directors and several university presidents, and I had attained a very solid reputation in the Pac-12 and in the country. So I was sitting in a very good spot. So I didn't really ever feel like that was a threat to go away if I came out. So I had some security there, I guess I would say. But you never know. I mean, there's always amount of fears. There's always amount of concern. But I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of great athletes and help a lot of teams achieve a lot of things. But it's been a fantastic run, and 36 years now that I've been coaching Division I softball, and it's changed a lot, but it's certainly something that I love to do.
Well, thank you for coming again.
Thank you very much.
You know, I hope you can come back again and again and again.
I feel like we just scratched the
will
surface.
never see. I got all these questions that I never use, people. So, but tell us right quickly in that camera, where can people find information and get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can reach me out on Facebook as well. You can find me Kirk Walker there. You can obviously reach me through UCLA Athletics. My email is there online. It's K Walker at athletics.ucla.edu. Absolutely reach out, and if there's anybody that's interested in being involved as a former student athlete or current student athlete or a sports professional, we've got a community and a network that is ready to be joined. So we'd love to have you involved.
Well, thank you. And for all of you out in La La Land and around the globe, see you next week, same time, same channel. Probably not the same people, but we love you regardless. See you later. Good night.